Katie Pearson. I work for ACOM, where I am the technical head for hydraulic modelling in our water business. I've got a bachelor's degree in environmental science with a year in Europe from the University of East Anglia, with a year that I studied in Sweden. I am a CIWEM, Chartered Water and Environment Manager, and CM, Chartered Environmentalist, and recently have become a Fellow of CIWEM, so an F-CIWEM. So I've just been working in the industry for 19 years this month. I started within a month or two after I graduated. I've always worked for engineering consultancy, and in my current role, I lead the community of hydraulic modelers that we've got at ACOM. There's about 70 people who work in hydraulic modelling for flood risk management, for water utilities, coastal applications, a real wide range of technical specialisms. And I lead that community, striving to improve their quality, learning and development, training, and also have a role in the recruitment for that part of our business. So a few years ago, I was more involved in the British Hydrological Society, and I was on the Pennines committee for that organisation and involved in running some events. More recently, I've increased my level of involvement with CIWEM, and for the last 2 years, I've been a member of the Professional Standards Committee and an assessor and reviewer for people who are applying for chartership. I had a huge career change in the time I've been working, but I did have a short spell when I tried to work for a small company rather than a large engineering consultancy. I just had a year working at a smaller company, and that wasn't for me. I'm happier, I think, in a larger organisation, but it's good that I've been able to try that out. Very basically, I think what I needed to know when I was at university was what consultancy was all about. While I was studying environmental science and I knew I wanted to work in something watery, all I was really aware of was the Environment Agency and didn't know how wide the industry was. So I think it's really important that people are aware of all those different career paths. And now I'm so pleased that I've ended up in consultancy and the opportunities that it's given me. And I do STEM activities in my local area, particularly, just trying to increase awareness of careers in this field. To get to where I am in my career today, I think there's two things that have really helped me. One is that I've had some excellent line managers along the way. In both the company I started with originally and where I am now, I've had people who I can look up to as a manager and who have pushed and have challenged me, and that's been a real help. I think the other thing that's helped me get where I am is that I have asked for new challenges or to try something different, and just push myself a little bit. So I'm thinking of an example when I was in my early career within the first few years, and our company was receiving staff from Australian companies. They were coming to work with us for a couple of years and to try out the UK industry, and so I asked, why can't someone go the other way? And we were able to make a year's secondment work for me to go and work in an Australian engineering consultancy. There's a lot of lessons that I've learned during my career, but the most valuable, and I'm sure so many people would agree, is to ask questions and to know your limits. So often what we do in this industry, it doesn't relate. It's not easy to move into from an academic study. The degree was great for theoretical knowledge and understanding, but the application of it has been completely different. And not being afraid to ask questions and to ask why or why not of the people that you're working with is really helpful. And I think nobody minds you asking questions as long as you only ask once. I think people get you might wind people up if you're asking the same question repeatedly or not learning from what you're told, but to ask and learn is the way to go. So when faced with a challenge, I think Earlier in my career, I would have perhaps hidden away, bit of an ostrich, bury my head in the sand and pretend it's not happening. But there's only so long that works for, and actually it doesn't really help the bigger picture. So I've learned to approach challenges now, and to tackle them head on. Sometimes that means making the hard thing you've got to do the first thing you do that day or that week. Other times it's about actually giving yourself a bit of space to think about what it is that's challenging, and think about what might help you move past it, and then to put a plan in place to keep going. So don't ignore the challenges. So I think the first one I'm going to repeat from earlier. A top tip for an early career professional is to ask questions. Don't be afraid of asking questions, but do show that you're learning from them. My second suggestion would be to build a network of colleagues and of peers, of mentors, all sorts of different people that you can turn to. I was lucky when I started as a graduate. There was a great community of us as graduates together, and that network still supports me professionally and personally 20 years on. And my third top tip is keep a CPD record, and keep that CPD record interesting and up to date, and as well as showing what you have done in the past, make sure that you're using that to plan where you're going to go next. I could talk about CPD for a long time, and people who know me might have seen another video I prepared for CIWEM with Oliver about CPD. The suggestions or the tips I would make are just reminding people that CPD is not just attending a conference or an evening CIWEM event. The CPD that you undertake should be much broader than that. And so looking at my record, I have CIWEM events that I've been to or participated in, and likewise with conferences. There's time when I've done some independent study, perhaps on something new and emerging in the industry. Other activities might be your internal training that you have to do, any mandatory training where you work. I am a line manager, so the time that I spend doing going through the appraisal and the performance and the reward process with my staff is all good CPD. So keep it varied, and keep it logged. Yeah, I've been lucky and had a lot of different kinds of mentoring in my career. I remember the person who was my mentor when I started on my journey towards chartership. He didn't work in the same field as me, but was in the same company. And that was a really great relationship to start me off on, because whilst I was developing my technical skills in my day-to-day role, he was able to introduce me to things in the wider industry and show me what else was out there. I've also been part of the Women in FCERM mentoring scheme. I was a group mentor for 4 ladies who we were all looking at work-life balance together. So I'd really recommend that scheme to people when it opens for new applications. And most recently, I've been on a leadership training program, and have had mentoring from someone outside of my organisation who has really challenged me about my career plan, my career development, and owning my career. So there's so many different types of mentoring out there that I think it's something that you should never finish with. There'll always be new opportunities through it. So I said that 2 years ago, I've become more involved in the Professional Standards Committee, and an assessor and a reviewer. And that's had multiple benefits. I think there's benefits for me personally in my confidence, and in overcoming that imposter syndrome that's quite common to people working. So I've overcome that. I've built a great network of people who sometimes there's now more professional engagement, work-related engagement, but it's opened my eyes to other people in the industry and other challenges and different ways of working. So that's been really good. But it's also had benefits for my colleagues at ACOM. We have an accredited scheme for people who are becoming chartered, and it's great that on that accredited scheme I can offer my time and my experience as a CIWEM assessor and reviewer to help people prepare as they go for the journey.